All right, so what we just talked about is we just talked about how we knew this was a triangular prism because it has two triangles for the bases. Remember, the two triangles do not touch. So we're just going to review very quickly on how to find the lateral area, the total area, and the volume. So remember, the lateral area is pH. That's pretty easy. You just find the perimeter of the base, add all the sides, then multiply by how far apart the bases are. And then remember, total area is the same thing as just plain surface area. And that's lateral area, which is pH plus 2 big B. And then, of course, your volume is big BH. And then to make this go as smooth as possible with as fewest mistakes as possible, we're going to go ahead and find out what all these letters are. So remember, perimeter of the base is going to be the perimeter of that triangle. That triangle has 3 sides, so you have to add up 3 measurements. So we've got our congruent mark, so that's 4 plus 4 plus 4. So of course, that's going to be a 12 for us. And then the height, remember the height is how far apart the 2 triangles are. So the triangles are 12 units apart. And then big B is the area of that triangle. So we have to find the actual area, which is base times height divided by 2, or half the base times height. I'm just going to kind of color code this. So remember, the P is the distance around, and big B is area of that triangle. All right, so here we go. Here's where one of our steps comes into play. We need to find the area of that triangle, but we don't know how tall the triangle is. So we have to use the Pythagorean theorem to figure that out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to redraw the right-hand side of that triangle right here so that we can grab how tall the triangle is, the height. So I just recreated just the right side of that triangle over here. I'm going to recopy the right angle symbol. And then remember, the original triangle, like all the sides were congruent. So guys, that was the side of a triangle. So we know that was a 4. That's not the side of a triangle. That's half the side. So we know this bottom piece is going to be a 2 right here. And then remember, we're looking for how tall the triangle is. Okay, so in order for us to get rolling here, we know it's Pythagorean theorem. So the next step you need to figure out is, do you add or do you subtract? You're always going to subtract when you're looking for the height. So it's going to be a squared minus b squared, or 4 squared minus 2 squared. So 4 squared minus 2 squared is going to get us rolling here. 4 squared, of course, is 16. And that's going to be 16 minus 4. Excuse me. So that ends up being a 12, but don't stop there. Don't forget you have to square root that. So let's go ahead and square root 12 and then just round. So y'all, here's my answer, 3.4 or 3.5? 3.5. Yeah, good job. All right, so when we square root this, I'm going to draw the squiggle marks because we rounded. That 3.5 is going to help us get big B. All right, so the area, which is big B, is going to be 1/2 the base times the height of how tall that triangle is. So it's going to be 1/2 of 4 times 3.5. This is the hardest part of this whole unit, the whole entire module, that whole entire packet. Okay, so we're going to multiply all of those together. So 3.5 times 4 times 0.5. Y'all, we're going to get an answer of 7. So our big B is 7. Hard part over, the rest of it's piece of cake. All right, so For your lateral area, it's going to be P times 8, which is 12 times 12. I think most of you guys should know that. So that's going to be 144 units squared because it's area. And then the next line is going to be that 144 we just found plus 2 times big B. Remember, big B was just 7. So 2 times 7 is 14. So we need to do 14 plus 144. So we get 158. So I'm going to add 158 for my answer here. Units squared. And then remember, big B is going to be multiplied by the H for the volume. So just 7 times 12. $84, y'all. But this is units cubed, so don't forget. That's it. Do you guys have any questions on that? Okay. So you're just going to practice more today because I want you to do well on your quiz tomorrow. So if you could please find page 24. So here's what I would like for you to do, please, on page 24. We're going to kind of simplify this a little bit. So on page 24, guys, will you please look at number 1? We're going to change that dimension for number 1 where it said 3 square root 2. Cross that out and just write 5. And you will have to use the Pythagorean theorem. Make a note. You're going to need that. On number 2, we're good with exactly how it is, no changes. On number 3, let's just cross out number 3 because you won't have any trapezoidal prisms on your test or quiz. So just cross that out. And now let's take a look at the next page. So for the next page, number 4, just follow as is. But starting on number 5, you guys are going to have to back into what's missing. So you have to solve an equation. Will you please write the word equation here? And I'm going to help you get set up just on this one. So this says a rectangular prism below has a volume of 64 cubic units. Find the height. So remember, volume is big BH. So when I say the word equation, you're going to fill in everything you know and then solve for what you don't. So the letter V stands for volume, but in this problem, we know the volume is 64. So on the next line, I'm not writing the letter V, I'm writing 64. And then what else do we know? We need to know the height. We're finding the height, but we need big B. But big B is super easy to get, y'all. Remember, it's the area of the base, and they shaded what they're wanting us to use for the base. That's just length times width. So big B is just 16. And then you guys should know how to solve this one-step equation. Just divide both sides by 16. So 4 is going to equal H, but I'm putting a box around that because that's just a tool to move forward. You need that. That's not an answer. Actually, you can put a 4 on that first blank. Put a 4 on that first blank, but you still got to find the other stuff. Let's start the page. We are not going to do any of these. So cross out 6 and 7. And then you know what? that's going to be it, because like I said, y'all, I'm checking yesterday's stuff. And if you didn't do so hot on yesterday's stuff, you might have some makeup work too. All right. So we talked about our notes, and then the practice. I'll just write it down here because I know we omitted stuff. It's going to be page 23. And remember, on page 23, it is, I'm sorry, not page 23, page 24. And it's only going to be problems 1 through 2.